So, how's it going? What's going on?
Well, today I just arrived from my acupuncture uh, um, date with my spiritual and anesthesiologist doctor. And that was okay, but I'm a little, you know.
So you had needles in your face?
Yes, and I have this mark. I
I
don't know
can't
if
see
you can
it,
see
no.
it. Okay, but I feel very good after that.
It doesn't make you feel tired
Yeah,
afterwards?
it is a strange sensation,
Mm.
since I feel like I um, get off all the stressful feelings, and at the end I really feel tired. but it's okay, and I feel relaxed too, so it's okay.
Feel relaxed as well?
Yes.
Yeah, they do this thing in China that's really common, and it's a similar sort of practice to I mean, in terms of experience to having acupuncture. It's cupping. Have you seen this on television or something? They they put they have like a stick with a ball of fire on the bottom of
Okay.
it, and they
Yes, yes.
they like burn all of the oxygen out of a cup. It's about the size of your palm, and they put it on your back, and then they
Yes.
cover your back with it, and it
Yeah.
suctions to your skin, and it like pulls the skin in like this, and then it hurts actually. I mean, it's not like extremely painful, but it's quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then you're left with circle bruises on your back.
Yes, actually, she also does that to me, but more subtly.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't leave me marks, but yes, she actually did the the glass thing with the with the lighter, and yes, but I already saw that marks, that ecchymosis marks, and that's pretty harsh.
So they're painful, but the idea is that it's drawing out poison from your system is the idea. I don't know about that. I think I've had it done several times, and it's um such a relief when the pain stops that
Mhm.
and I also think you get sort of an sort of like eating spicy food, you get sort of an endorphin rush from it
Yeah.
that your body has a like a like a relaxing, you get sort of a relaxing sort of experience at the end of it. As far as the extraction of poisons through your skin, you know, I don't know about that, but I when you go and get a massage in China, they often just do it. So and I kind of like it in a strange way. It's
Yeah,
like
it's I I I I I'm agree, because I think it releases natural endorphins, because it's one one form to stop or mitigate the pain. So if you
right.
it's the same thing like you when you pull your hair a little bit, or point some I don't know, painful spot, and you are touching it and touching it. I mean, I really do think that your body tries to balance the pain, and the response, the natural response, is to release these endorphins, these, I don't know, neurochemicals and stuff. So I really do believe that that occurs actually, because today 3 or 4 needles were so painful, so painful. Mainly the head one, and another one in my arm. Oh my God, I nearly cried. I nearly cried because it was so painful.
I've done
So
this. I've done this before, but it was years ago. But I remember it being pretty uncomfortable.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And
I had one in my ear. The doctor that I saw, he had me lay on my side, and he put one in my ear, and then he put a few in my leg. So I'm not sure what organs or whatever system that's related to, but
yes,
um something. I don't know if that's like the kidney one or like, the liver one or whatever. I don't know, but uh yeah, but I remember it being like, ow, like, and it feels like there's like a tendon or something between the needles, particularly in my leg. I felt like there was like
yes.
something being like
Actually,
tugged on.
actually, actually, what surprised me. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna stop the WhatsApp. What surprised me a lot is that uh, not all of that needles hurt. It's only
Certain
specific ones.
ones. Yeah.
Yes, because for example, the one that represents my heart
Mm.
hurts a lot, and she explains me that she explained me that it because my grief. So yes, and the other one that was painful was the stomach. Yes, the stomach and the bowel, the small bowel one. And actually,
That's
I'm right now in a treatment, on a treatment.
that's
Um,
probably related to anxiety as well, right?
of course, yes.
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah.
Actually,
Which is
so I
that's
feel,
anxiety, huh?
yeah, but I feel so much better right now, and just a little
Mhm.
sleepy, but
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Uh, so, did you get a chance to read that article and or watch the video of
Yes. Actually, I watched the video.
uh-huh.
And
Okay, tell me what you think.
wow, I love
Mm.
it. I love it. I love him.
Mm-hmm. Isn't he
Yeah,
great?
I was thinking that I I understand in that moment why you are so fan of him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was surprising for me because it's so I don't know, so close, so I don't know, like enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty catchy. I mean the preps part,
Isn't that
the
great?
preps part with this example with I mean he was destroying things and put this really physical example of what this physics professor do with the ball, with the iron ball, like the
Mm-hmm.
pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's very catchy, and it made me think that we really get back to those um, tools, because they are tools. Now we are getting back to face-to-face meetings, and I think, I don't know, it gave me some ideas. But I love that part. I love the part when he really applied their method, their strategy in her own speech. I mean, the introduction, the conclusion, the middle stuff, and the develop of the story, I think is quite interesting, because he actually used that.
It's fiat lux, it's let there be light, right? It's like action and words occurring in the same moment, right? So
Of course,
he's telling you what he's doing, and he's doing it at the same time. So,
exactly.
and that's brilliant. I mean, it really is brilliant. I mean, I love what the most obvious example that stands out for me is his conclusion. He says, in your conclusion, don't do this, don't do that.
Yes, don't say thank you.
Yeah, don't say thank you.
Everybody
Yeah,
say thank you
don't do that.
at the end of the speech.
And he's like,
So,
instead,
yeah.
compliment everyone, and then he goes ahead and then he does it, and he just acts it out. And it's like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. I cracked up with the photographs part, with the real life examples of people actually sleeping on class.
And with the slides too, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
and with the heavy slides. Everybody does that, or also.
And what a mistake. And he's so right
Yeah.
about that. And I'm such a believer. And he's not the first person that I learned that from. He just explained it the best I've ever seen. And that people, every teacher that teaches presentation will say, don't read the slide, that the audience can read for themselves. You don't need to turn your back to the audience. That's a no. Don't do that. So I'd heard all of that stuff several times before from different people, but he said it's in more simple language, using a visual aid, right? So he's actually using a slide to present what not to do with the slide, which I thought was brilliant. And yeah, and again, he's like, you're talking about the example with the telling the story about the ball, the professor with the ball. That's storytelling, right? He's doing it as he's explaining the use of it. The prop, he builds up this anticipation for what he's going to do with this prop, and then it's not anticlimactic. It's satisfying. It really does satisfy. And all of his examples are great.
Example, yeah. And the I was remember my high school times when he said the laser pointer. In that time, we use it a lot. We use it a lot, the laser pointer. And actually, he also say that, no, please, it's a no. And yes, use a few assets and iconography that catch the attention of your audience attention. Sorry, and of course is a little bit a little bit frightening. I mean, you have to domain to yes, you have to know very well what are you talking about, because you don't have all this visual help. And I think that's even a form of sorry,
Okay.
helicopter sound.
Mhm.
um, I don't know, it's a form to engage with your audience, that it's only you establishing a communication, a two-road communication, because you are reading the room and all the stuff that we already talked about on Wednesday. So yeah, I really enjoy that. I really
I,
enjoy that video.
I think it's super useful. I've watched it so many times. I'd also like to stress as well that, like, you know, the beginning matters so much. How you begin sets the tone for the entirety of your presentation. And I also think that something that I like to stress that I think is important is humanizing the situation, personalizing it, no matter what the content of your presentation is about. And so we talked a little bit about that in the last class. We talked about, using an anecdote, talking about, a personal story, whether it be your personal story or some other personal story. That's just one option. I think rhetorical questions also are very useful. To you ask someone a question, you put a question in someone's mind, do you know this information? And their immediate reaction is to look for that information in their brain, right? Looking for that answer. It's the sort of the natural response. It's like it's like mind control. It's like, similarly, if I say to you, don't think of a pink elephant, you will think of a pink elephant. You just can't help it, right? It's the same thing with a rhetorical question. If I ask you a rhetorical question, do you know what the main cause is for absenteeism in the workplace? The person thinks, like, do I know that? And it's just like it's a natural human reaction. So and then that leads into, I wonder what the answer to that is, and that leads into the next thought, and it just happens again like that. And so that's another option, right? That's a different option. The
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and I love that that he also said that the degree of complexity of the rhetorical question must be balanced.
Mhm.
It can be so easy, so obvious, but it can be so difficult that don't mm, don't don't awaken you this motivation to know the answer. I really do think that that's a very useful way to initiate my talk, I don't know how to say that, but I have to practice it.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I have 1 week left.
also remember that it's a toolbox. These are tools. He goes through, in his presentation, Professor Winston, he goes through tools that you can use. Not
Yes,
that you need to use all of them. You select the ones that you need.
of
Um,
course.
uh, I wanted to go through with you today one that I think is pretty much unavoidable. And so this one is not really a choice, unless it's a classroom that if you're a teacher and you have a classroom of students that know you, you don't have to introduce yourself, but otherwise you need to introduce yourself in formal situations, right? And so how do you choose what to say? And of course that changes from audience to audience in the same way that your choice of language would change, your choice of props would change, your choice of slides would change, your choice of storytelling would change, all of that. But there are certain ways of organizing a presentation for a presentation, whether it be a small group of people or a large group of people, how to introduce yourself in a way that is engaging. And I want to talk to you about that today.
Okay.
I have written, this is something that I wrote, a short piece that is not written in formal English. This is very informal, casual English. And we are going to look at that. Sorry, gotta find you.
And when did you write it?
When did I write it? I wrote this probably, I don't know, 6 months ago, something like that.
Nice.
Okay. So I'm going to read it to you and you can follow along, same as last time. All right. The formal self-introduction, putting your best foot forward. You know this phrase, this idiom, putting your best foot forward? You heard it before? Are you familiar? To put your best foot forward?
Not really, but I can imagine that it refers to, in a way, that your best introduction to the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I, I don't know about that. I really don't hear about it, this idiom, but
It means to try to make a good impression.
okay,
It
okay,
means
okay.
to, so it actually has a slightly different meaning in American English than British English. In British English, it means to do your best. In American English, it means to behave in a certain way to get someone's approval, to get someone to like you, to make a good first impression. So those two meanings are very related, but slightly different.
Okay.
So the British would say, you know, put your best foot forward, meaning just do your best, but they could use that in different situations than we would in America. But so anyway, so introducing yourself in a formal situation, like giving a speech. So what do you say in a formal situation to introduce yourself? What you want to do is make the person curious about you and also be brief. Get their attention, get them interested in you, leave some room to ask you follow-up questions, move on. To do this, all you need are a few adjectives and an anecdote. Adjectives are words that describe nouns, in this case, you. An anecdote is a short, interesting, or amusing story. Your anecdote can be about anything, but I have some suggestions to help you focus. So this is using anecdote to introduce yourself. You can use an anecdote to introduce your topic as well, right? So these are separate. They don't have to be separate. You can use the same anecdote, you know, about yourself to introduce yourself that also introduces your topic, which often works for me. But it depends on who you're talking to and what you're talking about. So the 4 things to think about. Your anecdote can be about anything, but I have some suggestions to help you focus. Number 1, how you got started. What puts you in this place that you're talking to these people, right? An accomplishment, your motivation for being there, what you can do for them, right? So why is this information going to be useful for them? Set that up in your introduction about yourself. You know, you're giving yourself authority by explaining why you're an authority, right? You're up there for a reason. Tell them what it is, you know. Keep it brief and try to make it personal. To put your best foot forward, here's an explanation, definition actually. So to make a favorable impression by acting in the most positive way possible, to do your best or to try your hardest. So I give you both meanings there. So I'm going to give you an example of an introduction that I wrote about myself that I often use when I'm speaking to people. Again, I don't have this memorized, so it varies from time to time how this comes out. And I don't recommend you memorize it.
No.
Because it sounds memorized when you do that.
Yes,
right?
it's some robotic or something.
Yeah, it sounds robotic, and you want to avoid that.
Yes.
But this is an example. So listen to what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm using adjectives and a very brief anecdote, right? A very brief story about myself that leaves open for questions. I'm hoping to create questions in the mind of the listener. I want them to be curious about me because that will engage them in what I have to say further. I'm an adventurous and curious person. I've used 2 adjectives right off the bat. My interest in Chinese culture began when I became obsessed with Bruce Lee movies when I was a kid. I'm making it personal. I must have seen Enter the Dragon 100 times. As I got older, my curiosity expanded to Chinese history and philosophy. But I knew there was only so much to be learned from a book or a movie. I wanted to experience the real thing. I was determined to learn about the real China. I'm versatile and adaptable. So I decided to move to China in person. I thought that was the best way to learn about the culture and learn the language. So I became a teacher of English and a student of Chinese at exactly the same moment. That's it. All right. So that's my introduction. I didn't say where I went to school. I didn't say, you know, so on and so forth. I made choices, right? And that's what you need to do. You want to keep it brief, right? So I didn't give them my whole personal history. I just gave them enough information and a few adjectives about myself that, you know, I said I'm adventurous and curious and versatile and adaptable, right? And all of these things are obviously meant to be positive. I'm putting my best foot forward, right? I didn't say, you know, I'm a neurotic mess. I get very nervous when I speak to people. You're going to hear my voice shaking, and if I start to tremble, I might faint and somebody call somebody, right? Like I'm not saying that, you know, even if it was true, if that was true, maybe I would say that, but I don't know. Okay, that's the what. Here's the how. Occasionally make eye contact with people. Don't stare anyone down. Don't stare at your shoelaces. People don't generally like that. Use a nice, pleasant tone of voice. Try not to shout or whisper. In some circumstances, either could be rude. Speak like you would to someone you have genuine admiration for, and you won't end up sounding like a robot. Speak like you admire the people you're talking to, right? Have respect for them, and they'll respect you back. And that also keeps you from sounding like a robot. Feel free to make hand gestures and speak informally. Let them see the real you. You can be respectful and sincere at the same time. I want to emphasize that because so many people make this mistake in formal situations. Being sincere is the best way to show respect to those you are speaking to under any circumstance. Lastly, don't memorize anything exactly. Having a plan and memorizing are different. When you have something memorized, it is very obvious unless you are a great actor, which you probably are not. No offense intended. It's obvious and may make people think you are phony. If you forget to say something, don't worry. This is the beginning of a conversation, not the end. So, how you get started, an accomplishment, your motivation, what you can do for them. I'm certain that one of those 4 things would be a useful introduction for your presentation next week, right? One of those 4 would work, and you only need to pick one. And you want to keep it brief because this presentation really isn't about you, right? You're presenting information. You do want to get to the content, but you need to establish who you are. You need to be personable, likable to a certain extent. And you want to engage them on a personal level. And so you need to introduce yourself. And this is how I think about it. Obviously, these ideas are not all straight from my brain. I'm not that creative. This is from years of study and practice. But this is how I think about what I'm going to say when I walk into a room to make a presentation. How am I going to introduce myself? I start with these questions and I choose one, and then I make up an introduction that includes adjectives and an anecdote. And this little story that I've told often worked great because I'm a teacher and I teach language. So I'm talking about, I'm a language learner, so I empathize. Not only do I have sympathy for you for struggling with learning language, but I also have empathy because I'm in your shoes as well. I study language too, so I know what's difficult about it, right? So I'm including all of that information in my introduction. So I do use this story a lot, right? But not always. Sometimes it's more important for me to say what I can do for you, right? Sometimes that's the emphasis that I want to make. Like, not that I can empathize with you and not that I know where you're coming from, but look, I can help you for this reason, right? Sometimes that's more effective, and I'll choose that. Just depends. But you should put some forethought into that, right? And then not memorize it, right? Just know what you want to say and then try to say it naturally. And those first few minutes are always the nervous ones. And so that's where I use those nerves, is I use those nerves in the introduction as excitement, and sort of reframe it as excitement and use it in the introduction. And normally by the time I'm through introducing myself, I've made a connection with the audience, and everything else gets easier after that.
Right. Very, very nice tips. I love it. Thank you very much for sharing for sharing it. Well, it gave me some ideas, and maybe I can talk about the times when I was living in Colombia, and the experience I have in, medical rigours. I don't know. It's I have to think a little bit about it, but yes, I'm gonna take those tips forward.
I'll email you that file so you can refer to it if that's helpful for you. And then, so what else are you gonna talk about? Tell me about it. Just like, I'm obviously not your target audience because I'm You can't use your jargon with me because I won't understand. But simplify as you know, as we talked about, and just tell me what are you talking about?
Okay, in one sentence, it's about encourage to vaccinate young employees with flu shots. That's in one sentence, because everybody knows about the importance of vaccinate, of the immunization of the risk groups. And
If everybody knows about it, why doesn't everybody do it? What's the problem? What's keeping people from being vaccinated? What, you know, why are these people not being vaccinated if they know it already?
But this, well, I think those are the same reasons, because that, well, the same reasons why people don't doesn't vaccinate with COVID-19
Mhm.
shots.
Mhm.
It's a very big, huge spectrum of reasons, since but I think lack of information, of um, non non-reliable information are the main reasons, because we are talking about economic active persons, like workforce. And these persons feels right, they are young, they are in their 20s or their 30s or their 40s, and most of them are healthy. So they don't think they can be seriously injured by flu, or seriously diseased by this virus. So maybe it's a combination of lack of information or non.
Well, let me give you an example. This is true, actually. My stepfather likes to tell the story that the 3 years in his life where he's gotten the flu shot are the 3 years that he's caught the flu.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's
That,
convinced that by not taking the flu shot that he won't get the flu, and that he got the flu because he took the flu shot, which is clearly not right. Right? Now, I understand the science behind why that's incorrect, but explain it to me anyway.
okay. This is one of the hardest parts of this of this kind of lecture, you know, because there are so many myths around flu shots, even in the profession, in the health professionals, even in the health professionals. And actually, I already heard from a medical doctor that please don't get the flu shot because you have, I don't know, a kidney disease, a metabolic disease, and some kind of general, I don't know, knowledge. I don't know how to say, this like vox populi kind of disinformation. I mean, um, there are so many myths around this, but okay, I'll try to explain the reasons of this. Okay. Um, there are so many types of flu virus, and they are continuously changing. I mean, it's a situation pretty similar to COVID-19. So even if you get the shot, you can actually get the infection. And this is the one of the main I don't know how to say, when someone refutation, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it. When you try to deny some scientific truth, well, so okay, this is the first reason, because you actually can get sick with flu virus even if you were vaccinated. So actually everybody knows, okay, you can get the sickness, but it's gonna be so much milder, so much mild. Yes, that's the main reasons. Okay, this is one of the reasons.
Coincidence is not causation.
Of course, and actually, yes.
And then we're talking about natural immunity versus taking.
Yeah, the adverse. Another thing to think about is the adverse effects from the flu shot can be pretty similar to actually the disease, because you have, headache, fever, chills, muscle pain, joint pain, etc. So the adverse effects of the flu shot can be confused with the disease, with the flu disease, and that's in one hand. And the other hand, like you already said, causation is not it's not
coincidence is not
coincidence
causation.
is not causation, of course, because there are so many other viruses can produce the same kind of disease. I mean, the same symptoms, the same signs, and actually one of them is COVID-19. So, but there are so plenty of them. I mean, metapneumovirus, syncytial respiratory virus. I mean, there are so many respiratory viruses that peak on winter. So if you don't get the test, you will never know if you already got flu or got another virus. So this is the second reason, because the people, I mean, cold weather, winter, and cold weather, it's so more easier to respiratory viruses to spread on the community. So because we, the overcrowded places, closed places are more common, because the holidays, the Christmas holidays, and to breathe and inhale cold air can can help to the virus to stay on your mucosa, nasal mucosa. So I think there's a lot of
Let
information.
me just say back to you what I heard. So in the winter months, first of all, people are more likely to be indoors and in crowded indoor spaces. So breathing each other's air, right? Because of that reason. Also, the winter months coincide with our holidays. So people are getting together for celebrations, traveling from far away places to come together. So bringing different viruses, whatever that might be separated by space, ordinarily have now been brought together into an enclosed environment. And so that's another reason that these viruses would spread more quickly. Also, the air is cold, and so we're inhaling cold air instead of warm air, so the viruses have more tendency to be more active inside your mucosa in your nose, and will have more an effect on your body. Yeah.
Yes, cold air slow.
Let me ask you another question.
Yes.
What is the argument? So when someone says that your immune system needs to be exercised, right? So people will say, 20 years ago, nobody had a peanut allergy, and now children will drop dead if they eat a peanut, if they're even near a peanut. I have friends and family who say that they're not allowed to send peanut butter sandwiches to school because there might be a kid in the classroom who has a peanut allergy who will seriously could die from just being around a peanut, right? And that's because of, no exercise of their immune system, and that it's better to get natural immunity so that your immune system is stronger. And that's the reason for not getting, for example, that some people used, that was some of the reasoning used for some people not to get immunized for COVID or for the flu shot, similarly, right? What's your response to that? How do you respond to that?
Yes. Okay. Actually, there is a theory. It calls the hygiene theory, and states that precisely this lack of immune stimulation can develop an allergy. But it's more focused on the extreme hygiene that these mothers that don't permit that their babies crawl and clean and clean all their toys and use use
antibacterial soap for everything,
Lysol and stuff in one hand, and the antibiotic abuse. I think, well, the hygiene theory states that this extremely deep clean state stop the normal development of the immune system of the child. So yes, I'm agree. Even if this is actually an theory, I'm so agree with that. So I think it's a combination of the antibiotics in your food, the antibiotics that the pregnant mother get in that time, and the antibiotics that we use so early in life in these children. So yeah. And actually there is another concept, it called immune system, immune fitness. Immune fitness refers to the precisely to this stimulation of your immune system, like every other ability in your body, like when you go to the gym to develop muscles, the same thing. And every infection, natural infection, develop this massive activation of the response, and it's a training stuff. You are training your immune system, which can be raised as well with vaccines.
Okay, that was my next question. So is taking the vaccine in support of that?
Of course, yeah, because
strengthened, exercised.
You exercise your immune system with vaccines, and that was demonstrated in numerous studies in the last 20 years. So yes, there is so many information around this, and we use this kind of information right now in my job to make this kind of awareness of the importance to cover to complete the vaccination scheme in pediatric population, because pandemics, the vaccines coverage slowed down very. It's so low right now, like it's pretty risky. There is a risk that in the next month we can have an outbreak, like a measles outbreak, like whooping cough outbreak, or of any of these immunopreventable diseases. So yeah, vaccines actually help you to straight strengthen your immune system. So
and there's so much information backing that up now, so many studies.
Yes,
that reinforce that.
And so many shots, specific shots, like measles shot, flu shots, herpes zoster, shot. It's another one that have studies about this.
Herpes simplex C, right?
Herpes no. Herpes zoster is like the reactivation of varicella zoster virus, is like the shingles. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
I know shingles. Yeah.
Yes, shingles is the
chickenpox.
Yes, is the reactivation of chickenpox.
Yeah.
So is the herpes zoster is the reactivation of varicella zoster virus. That's the Latin name for chickenpox.
When is your presentation next week? What day is it?
It's on Thursdays. Let me see. I have to travel on Wednesday. It's on Friday. Let me see my calendar. I think it's on Friday. It's September 16th.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right.
Okay.
Because the 20th is on a Tuesday. 16th sounds right.
Yes, on Friday. It's on Friday.
So we do have one more class between then. We're gonna have class on Tuesday. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so we can
Yes,
we can review this material one more time before you set off.
okay. Yeah, we will travel on Wednesday.
Mm.
Wednesday
Okay.
for.
So we got one more class before your presentation. So we'll talk about it some more.
Thank you very much for all
All
this
right.
help.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's been a very